So today's discussion, while we're sitting in the crown chakra, is about dreaming. And we know that that particular word has so many meanings for us on the earth plane. One is, the visions that we have for our lives, what we dream of in our lives, what we want to make manifest, how we want to create our lives. And then we have dreaming, as in I go off to sleep, my body moves into a deeper state where the brain is less functional, doesn't move as fast as in the alert state, and I slide into an alpha and then a delta and a theta state, or however that order goes, and before you know it, I have access to different types of information that may be sitting in the bodies of my auric field, or that is available from my higher self and from the astral plane. Then we have dreams where we actually leave our bodies and we travel, astral travel. We travel energetically as soul while the body is asleep, and we have a record of that in our minds and we call it a dream. So over the years, in the tradition that is so very human, there have been attempts to categorize and classify dreams and to depict, to represent dream symbols or dream symbology for people in order to explain dreams. From the time the center opened, I have had huge difficulty with this because I know that every soul has its own internal frame of reference, and every ego has its own internal frame of reference. And so what a dream means isn't always the same thing for everyone. On the flip side of that, the mass consciousness within which we all operate has certain agreements and commonalities. And so yes, there are some things that we can all agree on. A is for apple, B is for banana. That might not actually show up in your dream and mean the same thing. So there are different levels of interpreting the dreams that you experience while you are asleep. And like everything about the spiritual pathway, the most important thing that informs a dream is the feeling that accompanies it. Now, I say this ad nauseum, that the feeling of something is always so vitally important because it expands the experience, it informs the experience, it gives the experience direction. And if the feeling is uplifting and the feeling is joyful and the feeling rings true, then there is something honest and worth noting in the dream. So generally, as a rule, go to the feeling of the dream. How did you feel in the dream? And if you're seeing yourself in the dream, how does the self that you are seeing in that dream feel? Most of you are part of the Tuesday group, so you heard all about the dream in the Tuesday group, which is what brought this topic up for me, because I don't actually remember my dreams. I'm so busy at night that I don't remember my dreams, and when I do, I pay attention, because when I do remember, what I remember has been imprinted or recorded in a way by myself, by my chakras, by my energy system, by my consciousness, by my mind even, so that it can inform my waking life. Now here's where we get a little confused, because in the Buddhist tradition, Buddhism says this life on this earth plane is the dream, and that we must awaken from this dream in order to live fully, to live the reality of being soul, of being energy, limited and contained by a body. That actually our entire purpose of having a body and being on this plane is to overcome the dream, to become permanently awake, instead of falling off to sleep temporarily and experiencing this illusion called life as a reality. One of my favorite songs by Randy Crawford, One Day I'll Fly Away, and she sings about wanting freedom and wanting to escape, wanting to let go and let things be. And it's quite a sad song because she sings about finally getting to a point where dreaming ends. And that point is death. The dreaming ends at that time of death. And of course it speaks to all the types of dreaming that we do. For even the dream that this is reality, that this is life, ends when we die and we awaken to the understanding that life is life, is life, is life, is life, with or without a body. And which is the dream and which is the wakeful state becomes topsy-turvy, inside out, because the soul is fully awake without a body and half asleep in a body. And of course here we go to sleep in order to escape our bodies and be fully awake on the astral plane, on the soul planes. And so dreaming, or being part of a dream, Martin Luther King, I have a dream. We all have dreams. But we must be able to discern between the intention of soul and the purpose of soul, and now that informs what we dream of on the earth plane, what we're choosing to make manifest on the earth plane. And we must be aware of our dreams as a language, that activity that we engage in while our bodies are supposedly in a state of rest and our souls are free to roam. We must be aware of that language that is available to inform that daily awake state that we call life. And then we must be aware of that other dream state, which is neither dreaming nor awake. It's that suspended somewhere in the frantic energy of, oh my God, I'm in a body and I have to deal with the world, survival and the to-do list and everything that's happening. And I was saying to Charmaine earlier, I find myself sliding in and out of that while I sleep because, I'm like eating, sleeping, dreaming, talking, living puzzles. And so even when I'm sleeping, I'm having entire conversations about puzzles. And then I slide out of that and I rest deeply and I slide back into, I'm so aware of my mind having an entire dialogue about puzzles, as if it's role-playing everything that it's going to do the next day and sorting it out and filing things and making a to-do list. It is at work while my body is supposedly asleep. And that in-between stage is that space where the subconscious mind and the unconscious mind are given a space to air their views, to have their say, to let you know that they're in on the act. And so it's a space where the 4 levels of consciousness, and especially the 3 levels of consciousness that pertain to doing human, have to come into alignment with each other. You've all heard that old system of, if you have a problem, sleep on it. Let your mind work it out while you sleep, because that's what the mind does. The 3 levels of consciousness, subconsciousness, and unconsciousness, will pool their resources in order to resolve the problem. Bearing in mind, and please do bear this in mind, those 3 levels of consciousness are geared towards survival. Their first priority is material plane security. survival, maintaining your comfort zone. Those three levels of consciousness will ignore your spiritual consciousness, your super consciousness, and the guidance provided by it. It'll be 3-1. That's how the odds work, regardless of frequency. And it will throw up information that may or may not serve you. And so either soul has to be conscious, has to be aware in terms of how to use or whether or not to use that information. And then of course we have nightmares. So nightmares are not female horses who come visiting at night, although I rather like it when they do. Was that a nightmare? Oh, okay. See, Paddy's interjected. I asked Paddy the other day, does she have friends on the other side? You know, does she have unicorn friends? Why doesn't she ever bring her friends to visit us? Well, surely she has unicorn friends or unihorn friends. She must have friends, right? I mean, really, she's that kind of girl. And we know all her other friends, all of whom are crossed over beings like Gambit and Shadow and other people's dogs and cats, etc. But friends that she has on the other side or on the spiritual realm that I've never met. Like, you know, is she ashamed of me that she doesn't introduce me to her friends? Or it's just like whole conversation. And she's like, there's no need. There's no need to introduce you to my friends. And for a split second there, she sounded exactly like a teenage Sonali, you know, like, there's no need for you to meet my friends. You don't need to know everything about me. You don't need to know what's going on in my life. And so I decided, set a clear intention, that when I go to sleep, I want to visit with Paddy on the astral plane, and I want to meet her friends. Didn't work too well. I got nowhere very quickly. Obviously, there are some things that I am not allowed to see or know, and so that didn't work for me. Where was I before I told the story? Nightmares. Okay, thank you, Baba. So we know that we have minds that tune into the mass consciousness in terms of anxiety or anger or betrayal or frustration. We have bodies that remember things, that just remember things. I was saying to Fatima yesterday, until now, I know the exact point under my foot at which the injection penetrated my foot. I can pinpoint it just by memory. My foot will show it to me because having a needle stuck into my foot was such a traumatic thing, and I'm so overly, see, even now as I'm mentioning it, it's throbbing. It is throbbing as if it is so sore. It's such an overreactionary body, this one. Overly sensitive to one tiny little needle. This is the memory that will pulsate through me now, and you show me a needle at any other point and I am leaving the room in a hurry. This is exactly what we're talking about in terms of our bodies being sensitive, reacting to things, and creating nightmares from there. Dreams that are scary, dreams that are traumatic, dreams that make us, force us to confront our fears. So, with this complicated system of consciousness going on inside of us, why do we need to dream at all? Why do we need to dream? Do we need to dream? Does the energy body, does your physical body, does your human consciousness need to dream? Yes. Yes, it does. Your capacity to dream is set up as a release or a relieving system. It is set up as a system of communication between your different levels of consciousness. It is set up as a system of knowing yourself better. It is set up as a system of communication, telepathic communication, empathic communication, intuitive intelligence communication with frequencies that may be beyond your reach while you are awake in your body and are available to you at all times. It is set up as a system of accessing the spiritual realm with ease and bypassing the skepticism of your mind, of taking you into a space that you might otherwise, because of the barriers and boundaries of the mind, be unable to access. Now, most of us in this group don't have such problems, right? Because everybody's been learning to use their intuition and learning to feel what they feel and paying attention and learning to trust themselves. And I am gratified that so many members of the group have set as an intention being creative in their daily lives, manifesting their lives, living their truth, being accessible and open to their intuitive intelligence. So we might not actually have this problem of releasing or surrendering or relieving ourselves of excessive consciousness while we sleep. But most people do. And because we have a tendency, from a reptilian brain perspective, from a need to survive perspective, to keep our traumas close. You know that whole belief system about keep your enemies close? Survival, right? Keep your friends close, keep your enemies even closer. That's how that one goes. Exactly the same way. We keep our joys close, but we keep our traumas even closer. And we use those traumas as frequencies, as memories, as information to perpetuate traumas. We use those traumas to manifest traumas, to trumpet them out into the world, and we think that we're preempting further trauma. But really, all we're doing is using it as a foundation for more. Now, when we were working with the heart center, and we were working with connecting the heart center directly to the universal intelligence so that we know we would flow in an infinity symbol from the heart outward, from the understanding that this is the new base chakra, that I am transcending. This is what transcending is. Rising above, people, rising above, not passing out. Transcending the reptilian brain base chakra with all of its light and shadow duality issues of the archetypes, and living consciously from a connectedness with the universal intelligence in the infinity symbol space, in that sacred space of partnership from my heart center. New base chakra, which informs a new frequency of dreaming. Preempting. Shifting us into a space where what we dream and how we sort through information now has a different baseline, now has a different space of working in harmony with the universe and trumpeting a basic uplifting frequency to the universe instead of dropping down into base chakra issues of the shadow prostitute, the shadow child, the shadow saboteur, and the shadow victim. So while I'm talking, check for yourself if you are living from that base chakra, or if in all the time that I have not talked about it, we have managed to slide all the way back to the old base chakra. Are we back in survival mode? Has COVID had so great an impact that what we know is now unknown and we are back in base chakra? Or are we holding our ground, maintaining sacred space in the heart center? The heart center has two triangles. that flow. One flows upward, the apex faces upward, and it flows up into the crown chakra. The other flows downward into the human chakra. And so there is an even distribution of energy and information into I the soul and I the human. And maintaining that heart center as a neutral space that gives us access to both, that gives us management of what is below with what is above, is in accordance with spiritual law. As above, so below. And so we use the higher frequencies to manage the lower frequencies while maintaining the heart center as a neutral, empathic space of flow. A meeting room, if you will, where information is exchanged and shared, whether it's awake or dreaming, in order to inform what the human doing is thinking, feeling, emoting, and actually doing. If we are living from that foundation base center in the heart, so the new base chakra, the higher frequency heart-based chakra, we automatically inform our dream state. We automatically inform the frequencies that we access while we sleep. And some of you, all of you, none of you might have had the experience since then of astral traveling more, being more available empathically and therefore energetically to what is happening in the world. Bouts of grief or crying jags, the need to cry, the desire to cry even, as a way of relieving and releasing this energy from your system. More traumatic dreams as a way of emptying out what your physical body knows and what it no longer requires, so a bit of a detox effect. And you might have found yourself having bright new ideas that your mind has difficulty accepting. Bright ideas, and you don't quite know what to do with them because your mind is going, you can't do that. Remember the last time you tried something new? We don't do that. No, hold on. The solar plexus is still fighting to be in survival mode, especially with the pandemic, global pandemic happening. But the new heart-based center is going, anything's possible. Dream on, sunshine, dream on. And so this is some of the conflict you will face within yourself, and you get to choose. Either you trust yourself or you don't. Either you can or you can't. What is your new default? Is your default sitting in the old base chakra or the heart base chakra? You can go visiting. You can pop in occasionally with the old base chakra default system, but where you live, where you come from repeatedly, where you are consciously practicing living from as your sacred space, as your new base chakra, is what we're looking for. Because in this new base chakra, sitting in the heart center, it redefines the crown chakra into a new heart center. It moves us into a space of being compassionate and available to the world in a new way, but it also makes the world available to us in a new way. When we start living from this new base chakra, not only do we have different dreams for ourselves, we have different dreams for how the world will turn out. We have different feelings about our capacity to make that world happen. But I think the most important thing that happens when we live from this new heart-based center is the level of honesty, the level of integrity that becomes available to us inside out. This new heart-based center eradicates so many of our fears of telling the truth or taking risks or being who we are on the earth plane. It becomes an assurance, it becomes a confidence, it becomes a sacred space from which we can truly do anything from a clarity of intention and just with the will to make it happen. This heart center doesn't allow for the human ego to lie to itself. It literally does a heart bypass on the solar plexus system, which will still be playing the games of the prostitute and the victim. This base center in the heart looks for a new stability, a new security, a new sense of trust in self. And so it demands a new level of integrity, which in turn makes it possible for our throat chakras to blossom into living my truth. And when that happens, living your truth informs the dreams that you create for yourself, whether you are choosing to make them manifest on the earth plane or you're choosing to live them in the ashrams of the heavens. They are still your dreams, and the universe supports them because they come from your throat chakra. Because you will be living your truth and your dreams expand from there, they bypass the third eye chakra. They bypass the yang energy that splits them into this or that, and up and down, and near and far, and black and white, and masculine and feminine, that splits you into two minds about it. And so we move past the dithering decision maker into the knowing of the crown chakra. And that is the process, that the integrity of the heart base center informs living my truth, informs creating from my dreams and experiencing my dreams fully, informs the understanding that this dream too shall pass, that this illusion is merely an illusion, and receives full support in the blossoming of the crown chakra in a compassionate oneness with the entire consciousness, not just the mass consciousness of the earth plane, but a compassionate oneness with all frequencies in the spiritual planes as well as on the earth plane and everything in between. And then we take a walk with, what was his name? Ugh. Why don't I ever remember the people who died? Robin who?
Hood?
No, not Robin Hood.
The one that committed suicide.
The comedian, yes. Williams. Robin Williams in What Dreams May Come. If you haven't seen the movie, it's a fabulous, very colorful, artistic movie. In What Dreams May Come, he walks through a dream, and you see, like an artist's canvas, how it flows and moves around him, and how it so easily turns into a nightmare or turns into something amazing because of where he is coming from within himself. And that movie might have been made so far ahead of its time that, of course, it wasn't a box office achievement or, stupendously greeted by the universe in general or the human ego in general, but it was awesome. It was awesome in terms of making it clear that first and foremost, we are in fact a dream state. That the energy that we are is a dream state. And that the awakening from that dream state to recognize and acknowledge that we are dreaming is the first step. And then to take charge of the dream, to manage it, to create it, to focus it, to move it this way and that, so that a new reality emerges from that dream state. To the extent that the new reality now matches the spiritual frequency from which you came. And we call that process enlightenment. Most of us are awake enough to recognize that we're dreaming. We're awake enough to recognize that this too will pass. But our attachment to the dream is informing those other dreams that our subconscious and unconscious and superconscious minds and conscious minds are throwing up at us while our bodies are supposedly asleep. And so now not only do we have to manage all of this dreaming on the earth plane and the temporariness of this illusion called life, we must also manage the frequencies that are informing the dreams that we are spreading through the mass consciousness while we sleep. I have better things to do while I sleep, like go home and rest, go home and receive healing in the ashrams, go visit my favorite people, while my body is resting. I have all sorts of other things I can do, like walk into a lingam and sit in meditation with the Lord Husband, go sit in Sidambaram temple and listen to the chanting, go anywhere. All of us have better things to do while we sleep. And so rather we should be awake and aware while we are in our bodies of where are we coming from and how are we informing what we unconsciously and subconsciously at least are doing while we sleep. For those of you who have the questions, and there will always be people who have this question, a coma is very similar to an exceptionally deep state of sleep or a deep state of meditation, and people are fully accessible while they're in that coma. Very often it lasts for days because they've abandoned their bodies. They've gone visiting, they're gadding around. The connection is there, it stretches, fully elastic, it goes everywhere the soul goes, and they haven't let go of their bodies. So these are the people who are enjoying two worlds at once. And maybe not enjoying it, but they're owning two worlds at once, and they are reluctant to return to their bodies. Now when you're asleep and you astral travel, that same, when you're lucid dreaming, when you go visiting on the astral plane, that same thread keeps you connected. There is never a fear that it's going to snap. It's not designed to snap. It's designed to keep you irrevocably connected to your physical body until it is no longer required, in time with your blueprint and divine timing. So there are criteria for it to snap, for it to cut itself off from the body. Your body must be well and truly dead beyond redemption for that cord to let go. You do not have to be dead beyond redemption to let go of all of the other things that are getting in the way of you letting go, getting in the way of you dreaming, getting in the way of you detaching from the old base chakra in order to dream better and live better. We must check that we are not just a sum of our doubts and fears and unfinished business. We must check that we are not just made up of all of the things we think we can't do and shouldn't do. We must check that our list of can't is not increasing as the world around us changes. We must also check that we don't just dream, that we use those dreams to inform ourselves, to uplift others, that we use our dreams as purposefully as we can. There is no point in dreaming big and thinking and acting small. I was talking to a banker the other day. And she said, so how much will you require? And I said, how much have you got? Because I don't think in terms of requirements anymore. If you ask me how much do I require, then I have to give you a static number that is assigned to what I think I am going to do, what the plan is. But I know that plans change. I know that plans unfold. I know that new things arise. So what do I require? 5 million? What would I prefer? 50 million? And if you gave me 50 million, I could spend it in 2 ticks. In fact, I've already spent it. I have spent it so well that the universe now has no option but to make it available so that everything I've spent it on can get delivered. That's how that one works. So, there's no difference. There is no difference between 5 million and 50 million. Really, there's no difference between the two. When it comes to your capacity, your ability to dream, your ability to create, there is no difference between the two. But the minute I add a 0 to something, did your fear get greater? Did the burden become greater? Did your doubt become greater because I gave you a big fat 0? Always happens that way, no? Ask anybody the difference between 5 million and 50 million and they'll give you a number. That's what they'll do. They'll say 45 million because everybody is so transactional. But the universe doesn't know the difference between 5 million and 50 million. It loves zeros. Remember, the universe operates on 0 to 1, 0 to 1, 0 to 1. It doesn't even know a 5. So put your 5 there and put lots of zeros after it, and the universe will recognize that 5 and deliver on it. The more zeros, the better. That's a lot of nothingness for the universe to deliver. And the more gaps and spaces, the more room to breathe that you have in your dreaming, the more the universe can deliver. Let us not try pouring water into a full glass. You know it will just spill over and go elsewhere. We must be a little bit sensible and practical and reasonable in being spiritual, because that's the discipline. And then be very clear, dreaming is not a way of procrastinating. Dreaming is not a way of keeping yourself busy in your head and busy while you sleep. And then you do nothing. Then you might as well sit down in meditation and call it contemplation. Sit down quietly, contemplate the dream instead. Step back, be the observer, watch your dream unfold. Play it out from beginning to end, exactly as you want it to be. Feel it happening inside of you, absorb the frequencies of it, and become a master manifester, become a master creator. Shift your frequency to align with the dream. So contemplate, meditate, and then go and activate. But whichever way you do it, you don't get to procrastinate. You get to do the work. The universe does not work for a living. It does not need to. It has no survival mechanisms or requirements. So the universe does not, let me say this again, the universe does not work for a living. It just is. It doesn't know what working for a living is because it is living anyway. What is it going to survive? Energy is endless, infinite, eternal. It never dies. What is it going to survive? This language that we're speaking to the universe makes no sense. It's the dream state again. It's the illusion. We are living this dream as if it's the reality, and we are saying all the wrong things and doing all the wrong things. So the universe doesn't know. It's confused by you because you are confused. The universe is wondering, What are you going to survive? What are you going to survive? Really? Aeons? You're going to survive for how long? Oh, 1 quantum second out of aeons, if that. Or a quark of a quantum second out of aeons of time. You're going to survive that long? What do you need to do that? Breathe, done. Because by the time you finish breathing, that time is gone. It's over. That quark of a quantum second is over before I've even said or thought or pronounced the Q. Never mind the whole word. And that's how long your existence on the earth plane in this lifetime is, in the context of aeons of universal intelligence. So the universe does not know survival transactions. It does know creative intention. And whether you are creating for a moment, or you're creating for a lifetime, or 50 million lifetimes, the universe knows that frequency. So what then is the secret of the secret? Really, what is the secret then? I don't understand that book. What is the secret? Spiritual law is public knowledge. We've all learnt it. It is there. That's no secret. The secret is actually who you're being inside. Your secret self. And in your secret self, where you are clinging to the old stuff and clinging to the dream and clinging to the defaults and clinging to the conditioning, where only you know, only you know in complete integrity where you're living from, what is your first thought? That secret is what needs to change. Stop protecting it, stop hiding it, stop pampering it, stop coddling it, stop procrastinating from it, and get rid of it. Remember, heart-based chakra, living my truth, blossoming beyond the duality into crown system. 1008 petals, trumpeting my creativity into the universe. And what will the universe do in reply? It will dance. It will keep doing what it always does. It will dance. It dances whether you are interacting with it or not. So it will keep doing that. But because you've decided to learn the steps and you've decided to dance too, you'll be dancing in partnership. First, align yourself with what is the dream. I remember when the center was merely a dream. And I would talk about this plan, this dream. And here I am, almost 19 years later, still living the dream. And that's the nice thing about some dreams. You make them real and they become your new reality. They become a different dream state. And you get to live that dream over and over and over again. That dream. And that dream expands and it blossoms of its own accord because the universe responds to it. Because it becomes a living truth in itself. And then that dream led to other dreams and other dreams and other dreams. And so I live for the day where dreaming ends. I can look forward to that day where one level of dreaming ends and a whole new era of awakeness and awareness begins. And it always happens on this spiritual pathway within this dream. Within this dream alone, we have so many of those cycles of dreaming and waking and dreaming and waking and dreaming and waking. But not one of us needs to live that space where dreaming ends and we lose everything and we feel dead inside and there's nothing to look forward to. Not one of us needs to live there. The recognition of the dream and the management of that consciousness keeps all of our dreams alive and well. Let us meditate.